This video is going to look a little bit different. I don't know if you guys watched the last one, but I was sick for 2 weeks. I'm fine now, but I tried my best to research and do all these things in bed. It just was not very good, but I'm back. I feel 1,000 times better, and we are working on a lot of very important cases right now. We're working with a victim's family member on a case. There's a lot of just strange things that have been happening that we want to bring these cases to you guys, but we want them to be good. So it's taking a little bit of time, and we didn't want to go without any videos. So this is going to be the video that we are posting that is not totally new and fresh. This video was actually filmed maybe a year ago, and it was posted on a different channel of mine, a separate one called Stephanie Sue. The story is about two different women in China who lived very drastically different lives. One woman was kidnapped by a TikToker, a Douyin or influencer in China, and she was held hostage in his house for a very long time. And then another woman, she cried tears of joy 30 minutes before she was executed by the country for murder. This was from a year ago. I might look a little bit different. I might sound a little bit different, but I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next one that will be just the rotten mangoes that you're used to. I'm just gonna start with a universal truth, okay? You should never buy stuff illegally. I feel like that's just a global law, especially things that shouldn't be and can't be sold in the first place, like pandas. Did you know that you can't buy a panda? Did you know that all pandas are owned by China? They are only native in China, and all the pandas that are in all the zoos across the world, they're on loan from China. But it also means, unlike any other animal, no other government, no other individual can own a panda. So in China, the punishment to buy a panda in the underground breeding market, which I assume is not that big of a breeding market, but if you do end up somehow buying a panda, you will be sentenced to more than 10 years in prison.
That's actually less than I thought. They're considered a national treasure, so it's a big deal.
I mean, yeah, but like 10 years, that's the minimum sentence for buying a panda. That's a lot. I mean, there are people that have done worse things that get out in like 2 years. If you buy 2 parrots, special breed parrots, you will be sentenced to more than 5 years in prison in China. And I'm telling you this because recently a case in China has taught everyone that a woman is less than a panda and even less than 2 birds. Let's talk about the viral TikTok Douyin case of the chained woman. Okay, so there is like a whole niche of creators online, and you're gonna see them pop up from like all over the world on TikTok. Like you see them in America, Europe, Asia, Africa. They're called feel-good influencers. So it's not that they're happy. They're not influencers that are, your happy place. They're literally in the business of making you feel good. So most of their videos, they go something like this. First video. This man right here is without a home. You guys, I'm gonna let him tell his story. Then the person will share their struggles with being without a home and how that's impacted their lives, their children's lives, their family. And then later, a follow-up video will be made using the donations that viewers have sent in, where the man without a home is surprised with all the money. It's like this universal moment, even if you don't understand the language, because I've seen different countries do this and it pops up on my TikTok feed because it's like a thing I do watch until the end, okay? And it's a moment of like intense understanding, humanity, hope for the future, that we can all change the world, make it a better place. And almost always, it's a select number of trending, heartwarming, uplifting music that is playing in the back. Listen, I'm not on these influencers. I hope that majority of these influencers are genuine, because I'm literally on that side of TikTok. I will watch every single one of them. I will even donate to the GoFundMes because it just makes my heart hurt. But in the end, it also makes me and everyone else feel good. You feel good in the end almost. You're on this like emotional journey. You feel so bad. You feel grateful for your life. You feel like you should be thankful for your things. And then you feel good in the end. They're in the business of making people feel good. And if these good, positive energy influencers are legit, then they are changing the world. But in every industry where there are no regulations and there's money to be made, how do you know if all of them are legit? How do you know which ones are hiding dark secrets behind their positive energy facade? Recently in China, a father of 8 went viral on Douyin, which is the TikTok in China. And the dad's name is Dong Qimin. We're gonna call him Mr. D. It's literally like Daddy of 5 all over again, but Daddy of 8. And I can see why everyone was just quickly obsessed, okay? I would probably be one of those people. Mr. D had a really intense story. His mom was in her 80s and he was taking care care of his disabled older brother. He had 8 children that ranged from 3 years old to 10 years old, and he was raising them all by himself in this tiny little village in China. He had like no heat during the winters. They had no flooring in their house. It was just like dirt in the floor, and with no partner in sight to help him. He's like a single father of 8. But the crazy thing is, I mean, nobody would even blame Mr. D for being a sour, mean old man, just a douchebag. Imagine that kind of pressure to feed that many people, to do all this housework. You know, if he was a little bit mean, nobody would be mad. His life was pretty miserable. But even though that he's barely making it by, the children have no clothes, they have like no food, it was rough. He was such a happy, positive person online.
家人们下午好，我叫董志民，8个孩子的爸爸。
大哥，咱现在火了，有什么感想？
主要是感谢那个全国的爱心人士，要不是你们的支持和帮助，靠我就是种那烂木地儿，家让孩子还吃了奶粉，我也不易。
大哥，你要这8个孩子有后悔过吗？
没有啊，后悔的啥？不后悔。只要有大人够吃的，还能饿着小孩了，叫他。现在那个生活虽然也困难点呗。那不代表以后小孩子们长大了还困难。最大的梦想，我就是慢慢的把小孩都拉拔成人看着他们健健康康的成长。
So his story starts getting attention on social media. Bigger TikTokers are reposting his videos, giving him shout outs, being like, hey guys, look at this family, go follow them, go show them some love. Some of the local TikTokers that live in nearby cities or the towns, they would go and visit Mr. D, and they would draw more attention to Mr. D. They're like, go look at this family, guys. Look, I'm with this family. This is what we're doing. Look at how he lives. Guys, I'm gonna link his GoFundMe. It was like this whole ordeal. And the TikTokers, they would show the whole world the harsh truth that everyone likes to ignore. I mean, most of their audiences were like in their heat-controlled homes in the winter, laying in their clean sheets and blankets with the smell of dinner seeping up from downstairs. But a good majority of the audience had never seen conditions like this. So it was eye-opening, and it was what people call poverty porn in a lot of different industries, like the reality shows that show that. Yeah, we've talked about it before. That's like the label people put on it. So it was kind of a mixture of that. Like people were amazed at how tattered the clothings of the children were, and it just was heartbreaking. They even interviewed Mr. D for their TikToks, where he shared more about his life. They were like, okay, well, tell us about your life. And he's like, okay, well, I receive maybe $430 from the government every month to feed all these kids. That's not a lot. That's for everything, my housing, feeding them, clothes. I mean, I gotta make sure that they get to college. That's my dream. And the TikTok would end with the influencer saying, guys, please go follow Dad of 8 on Douyin. Please, and check the link to see how you can help their family and donate.
想吃糖果的快来，我给你发糖果吃。谁最大？你老几？老二给。谁老三啊？你老三。给小八。
Literally, all of this sounds completely normal. I feel like I would even share that video or even talk about it or like try to draw attention to this family because, I mean, who wouldn't? And soon, father of 8 children gained like 200,000 followers on Douyin. And he's like, okay, I can make money this way. It's like the best way, which makes sense. Nobody's dogging on him for that. So Dad of 8 children starts live streaming, accepting donations, accepting gifts. And in the early videos, Mr. D would show his children and he tried to answer all the questions that were most frequently asked. Like, why do you have 8 kids? And he said, I never had a wife until I was 34 years old. I was single, and in the village, that's something that everyone looks down upon when you're single for that long. Yeah. So when I finally got a wife, it just happened. We started having kid after kid after kid, and yeah, I guess it makes sense, you know, no judgment. Then another frequently asked question was, will you ever put up the kids for adoption? And he said without any hesitation, I wouldn't. As the children have already been born into my family, I have to raise them. They're my responsibility, you know? We never terminated any pregnancies. He was very proud of that, by the way. You think of that what you will. And he said, among the 8 children, 7 of them are boys, and 1 of them is a girl. Now, this is where the story starts taking an interesting turn. People are like, wait, what about the one-child policy? What the fork is going on right now, okay? And people start asking, well, what are the kids' names? What should we call the kids? And he responded, Well, you guys want to know the kids' names. So the girl's name is Silver Phoenix, literal translation. So it's not like a meaning. Okay, so you know how Chinese characters can have a deeper meaning and stuff? It's like that in Korea. If your name is Chisu, the Chi has a meaning in the traditional Hanja, like the traditional Korean character. And then Su has a meaning. So it could mean like beautiful angel, but the direct translation would not be Chisu in English is beautiful angel. But his direct translation was like Silver Phoenix. Yeah, it was like...
That's the meaning, yeah.
Yeah, that was like really direct. And then the boys had very peculiar meanings too. Names, Hong Kong. Aerospace.
Hong Kong?
Yeah.
His name is Hong Kong?
Yeah,
Hong
Hong
Kong?
Kong. Yeah.
Interesting.
Aerospace, Gold Mountain,
Okay.
Silver Mountain, Treasury, International. Okay, so of course the viewers, I mean, they had the same reaction like we did, which is like, okay, we're not judging, but like, what? Who named these kids? Was there a meaning behind, you know, all these different names? Like, there's got to be a story behind this. No one names their kids that without a good story, right? And he calmly explained, the story is, the money from the Gold Mountain goes to the Silver Mountain, then it goes to the bank, and the bank's money goes to the treasury, and if the treasury is unable to keep the money, it goes international or into aerospace or to Hong Kong.
What?
Okay, so
What in the world?
basically, he was really adamant that at least one of his kids would have money.
It's obvious that his education level isn't high.
Yeah.
And that's how they usually name kids.
I think it's also supposed to be like, okay, like the money is going to end up in one of my kids' pockets because if it doesn't stay in the bank, it goes to the treasury. If it doesn't go there, it goes to this and it goes to aerospace. Does that make sense? So he's like thought of all the loopholes of where the money could be sent. And he was like, got that covered. Got it covered, okay? I mean, the sentiment of it all was just hope, which is a good sentiment we can get behind. Fine, a little bit strange, but that's fine. We can get behind some fun names. People are naming their children all sorts of weird things. I mean, have you heard these celebrity kids' names these days? Even weirder. I think the only frequently asked question that wasn't well answered was, where the hell is their mother? And all he would say was, the children's mom is the hero of the family. That was like it. Nobody wanted to push it because maybe he didn't want to air out the dirty laundry online. Maybe he didn't want the kids to see him talking to the mom. Maybe the mom passed away and it was too sensitive of a subject. Maybe she cheated and left, right? Everyone tried to remain respectful. Like, guys, stop asking. Like, we don't need to know, okay? That is until January 27th of 2022. The whole case blew up. I'm talking wide open. All of Douyin, TikTok, everything blew up. A famous TikToker had traveled to the village to do like a collab of sorts with the father of 8 children. He wanted to show his followers how, you know, Mr. D was living and how they could help. And as he's browsing around the home, taking some time to think about how to best film this type of video, he saw this little shed in the corner. It is like a very small shed that even upon his arrival, he had seen it. And in his head, he's thinking, that's probably like a doghouse, right? But there was a small door and it wasn't boarded up. There was no chains around the door. There was no like crazy padlock. And inside, he sees like a tiny pale person peeking out and like staring at him. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go in there because that's really weird. Is that like another child? Maybe that's like the brother. I wanna meet this person. He goes into the shed and he sees that there is a woman in there that looks hungry, malnourished. There was evidence of torture. She was chained to the wall through her neck, like a dog collar, and it was chained to the wall. She scurried back when he saw her, and now this is where it just starts really getting crazy, okay? He runs into the shed and he's filming the situation. Inside the shed, there's a woman and a tiny mattress on the ground. That's about it. The woman was in freezing cold winter. She was barefoot, very thin clothes on, and chained up. Even her food was given to her in like a dog bowl. There was a food bowl that was just kind of sitting on the ground, and inside of it was just frozen congee, which congee is like rice boiled in water. It's not very a nutritiously dense dish. There was a cold steamed bun on top. The only warmth that she had was like this moldy beat up blanket, if you could even call it a blanket. Honestly, I think it's too thin to even be called a towel. Yeah, she was standing there and her eyes, you can see it in the video briefly. I don't know if that's how I would describe it, but people keep saying they look glassed over. Like she looks like she hasn't been herself in years. You know, it looks like her soul had been like ripped out of her. She only had a couple teeth left, and even when she tried to talk, she was slurring her words.
你好，
冷不？不冷。我给你拿个衣服穿上吧。我给你拿个衣服穿上吧。我给你拿个衣服去，好不好？我给你拿件衣服。我看你咱有爱心人士捐出衣服，我给你拿一件。你这饭凉了吗？饭凉了吗？你能不能我这样说话，你能不能听懂？我跟你说话能听懂吧？不能。是不是？是不是能听懂一点点？我跟你说话，不能是吧？不能把这筷子放下，这个饭还能吃吧
？She seemed too weak to even be fully present. She seemed fully disoriented. She seemed incredibly timid. He asked her if she was cold and whether she could understand him, and she shook her head repeatedly. He was genuinely shocked. He looked up at the camera and he said, "What has this woman gone through in this cold weather? Where did all the donations go?"
有点小，它都是小孩的衣服。没发现它能穿，这个还能穿上，能暖和一些。这个，哎呀，这个天气啊，大家可以看一看，这个天气是这个大姐经历了什么？我们的爱心到哪里去了？哎，冷，穿上吧，好吧，冷，我给你拉上，好吧，冷吧。
The video ended and he posted it online. And this is what blew the case up. I mean, the question remained and lingered, and everyone that was watching was, who the hell is she? Where did she come from? Why is she chained up? Where is her family? Why did nobody care that there's a woman chained up in the shed? Like, they didn't try to hide her that well. So are you telling me no neighbors knew? No villagers came over and never investigated this shed? So these people, the netizens are blowing up the comments like, we gotta do something. Which, yeah, we do. But the TikToker who posted this original video, he made a response and he was like, you guys don't have to call the police. I just wanted everyone to care for the poor family and urge the father to treat his wife well with the help of the public opinion.
Wait, the TikToker who exposed this story?
Yeah.
Post a story saying you guys don't have to freak out anymore?
Yeah, we're handling it and this is his wife and he's gonna treat her well. What? And that's all I wanted. Meanwhile, the father of 8 children was still active and he was responding to all the questions and the backlash. Can you imagine that he's still active on social media right now? And he's saying that, hey guys, everyone, this is not like a kidnapped woman. My wife was mentally unstable and she was pretty violent. So to prevent her from smashing things and hurting my elderly mother, or even the children, I chained her up in an isolated room in the house.
Like a dog?
Yeah.
In the freezing cold?
This was his defense. This was his hey guys, don't be mad at me because I have a good reason.
Okay.
And then he said, but whenever she was not violent, I would let her out. That was his best argument.
Wow.
That was his defense. So yeah, no, the public was not satisfied. So the video starts circulating everywhere and the internet theories are going crazy. Some speculate that she was human trafficked rather than being a mentally unstable wife and mother. Some thought that she was an insane mother. And some people were even commenting, if she's insane, then I'm worried that her kids have mental illnesses that were passed down. Some people commented, I think that she probably was good looking and mentally stable, but because she had been chained and trafficked and probably assaulted, she gradually went insane. She can be insane and still a victim. You guys know that, right? Another comment read, she doesn't look very old. Why did her teeth all fall out? Someone made a wild guess under that comment and said, maybe she bit someone to defend herself while they tried assaulting her and they broke her teeth off. Another theory was,
jeez,
the woman was probably abducted when she was 12, 13 years old. I heard that Mr. D and his brothers and even his own father used to use the chained woman and nearby villagers knew about it. But nobody intervenes because all the villagers are like animals. So very quickly, Mr. D goes from this loving father of 8 children to human trafficker overnight. Listen, no angle of this is looking good for this guy. Even if what he said is true, who chains up their mentally ill wife? Who does that? People replayed the video over and over and over again and tried to decipher what she was saying. Because remember I said that she was slurring her words, she didn't seem fully there.
Somewhere far away. It's impossible for me to leave. The world doesn't want me anymore. The world doesn't want me.
And netizens all agreed that she was saying these couple of phrases. Will they let me back? They would never let me back. The world doesn't want me. The room is full of rapists. That's what they gathered. And it completely set this whole thing on fire. Everyone was outraged, like rightfully so. And they started a nationwide campaign for justice, for answers. And finally, someone other than TikTokers responded to the backlash. The county that the village was in, announced that, hey guys, calm your tits. We are going to be interviewing the locals. We're going to do like an investigation, okay? And we're going to work with the local medical institutions to get you some answers. And in their announcement, they told the public, there's no human trafficking in this case, okay? Like, we know this. No one's being human trafficked, y'all. You guys need to calm down. These internet theories are wild. This woman was not abducted. And second, she is chained up because she's mentally ill. And she beats people. So we're going to handle this. Thank you for your concern, internet. Yeah, that went over really well. The internet was like, okay, that's a good day. Let's call it a night, guys. Let's go on Twitter and do something else. Yeah, no. What kind of response was that? That only made everyone feel like something extra shady was going on. Are the authorities involved? Why are the authorities on this random dude's side when it's clear that he's chained up a woman in his shed? Netizens wanted to know, okay, if she's not abducted, whose daughter is she? Like, we're not going to rest until her biological family, not her little husband and his family, her biological family come forward and tell us that she was never taken and that she's fine. Second, just because you're mentally ill, does that mean anyone can chain you to a cold, shabby shed and force you to give birth to 8 children back to back? How is that not SA? The initial response only angered the netizens more, and it just added more fuel to the fire. And finally, Fengshan County? Fengshan County was forced to release a second announcement, stating that the woman's name was Yang Qingsha. And they said Miss Yang was a woman without a home. She was begging for help when she came across Mr. D's house, and his family let her stay with them. She was battling all sorts of mental illnesses at the time, but the two fell in love. So Miss Yang and Mr. D fall in love and decide to get married. So yeah, that's what happened. So there should be paperwork, right, of the marriage certificate. Well, no, the authorities said don't even try looking for it because Mr. D said that the staff who did their marriage registration, they were negligent and they did not identify Miss Young's identity, so it was complicated, yeah. We don't really have like an ID for her, like an actual physical copy of the ID, but she's Miss Young, we're pretty sure. Yeah, and she's married, and those are her 8 children. We did a DNA test. We even gave government subsidies to the family. They were like saying this as a flex. They were like, we gave them $400 a month for 8 kids. Don't even get me started on that. Like, someone get the county a PR team. They also mentioned that the chained woman, allegedly Miss Young, had been sent to the hospital for psychiatric treatment, and they never denied, confirmed, or even mentioned human trafficking, assault, forced birthing, abuse, none of that, again, in their second report. So yeah, their second report went over just as well as the first one. The netizens and journalists alike were so fed up, they started traveling to the village to demand answers.
What?
Meanwhile, netizens were doing some detective work because, the police aren't doing it, right? They found a woman that had gone missing like 26 years ago. Her name was Li Ying, and she was 12 when she went missing. She had this very sweet looking face, very soft features, double eyelids, a round face, a small mole in the corner of her mouth. And the missing persons report stated she went to school one day and just never came home. Netizens did a comparison of the facial proportions. So this is I know it's kind of tricky to see if this is viable, but usually the proportion of your chin to your lip to ratio, they say it does get bigger as you age, but it stays pretty consistent. Like the gap between your nose and your top lip, it stays pretty consistent. These types of proportions in your face. And they put the missing poster flyer picture as well as the chained woman's picture that was screen grabbed from the video, and they looked kind of similar, I'm not gonna lie to you. So they're like, okay, maybe this is the woman and it's not Miss Young, because nobody believes the county with anything they say. They don't even believe that this is Miss Young. Because if she's human trafficked, do you think that they would put her real name on the marriage certificate. Get out of here. No, they wouldn't. The chained woman was also said to have a thick Sichuan accent, and the missing girl was from that region. So now the authorities are getting even more dragged because it looked like the internet was doing more for this woman than they were, which the internet was. So they were forced to come out with a third statement. They said, Miss Yang has been identified. And that's not her name. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Don't hate us, okay?
They're saying the name that they gave first time was not it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and they're like, not my fault, guys. It was the county registration person's fault. It's not my fault. Her real name is Xiao Hua Mei. We're gonna call her Mei. And she's from the Yunnan province. Now, both of her parents are dead, and a report claimed that a neighbor, on the request of Mei's parents, went out to find Mei a good husband. You know, her parents were worried because Mei wasn't a good catch. She was battling some mental illnesses. She had slurred speech. So the neighbor and Mei went out to search for a husband, and in the process, they got separated, right? You know how that happens. And the neighbor never called the police to let them know. Never let Mei's parents know either. Just came back home and was like, yeah, she's married. Mei's parents had no idea to whom, to where, like nothing. And to show you a map, to get from the province that Mei was originally from with the neighbor to the place she was found, it was across the country. And China is a big country.
Wow.
The county also claimed that Mei lost her teeth due to a genetic issue and not abuse. And other than that, they said that she was in a good mental and physical state and like, guys, move on. We're the Kardashians. Move on, everyone. Nothing to see. They also claimed that they did DNA testing and all 8 children were Mei's. And I still don't know what the county was thinking. This was just not a great announcement. And the public, they still didn't understand. Okay, if this is true, why did nobody care that Mei was gone? And also, how did she get from the other side of China to this village? And you know what? Here's a really good question. Why the f was she chained? Like, none of this answers why the f she was chained. None of it. So because she was missing, she can be chained? Because she's mentally ill, she can be chained? Like, what are you saying? And mind you, up until this point, nothing was happening to Mr. D. He was a free man with no consequences. In fact, oddly, during this time, a wedding company had asked him to be a spokesperson. A wedding company. The public went insane. They said, how can a scum who chains his wife up and treats her like a birth-giving machine talk about happy marriages? What on earth is going on right now? But back to the chained woman, who is she? So was she Li Ying, whose face matched up according to the netizens, or was she Mei? You know, Li Ying's uncle came forward to ask for a DNA test because based on the videos and photos, he was sure that was his niece who had been missing since she was 12. You know, the one that was walking home from school? Again, this announcement only made people question the county more. Everything that the county said just felt so fishy at this point. Even if they start telling the truth, nobody would believe them. That's how people felt. So the county issued a 4th statement, February 10th of 2022. They said, hey everyone, calm down, okay? This woman is not Li Ying. Jeez, this is Mei. We found Mei's half-sister. We did a DNA test and it confirmed that this woman is not Li Ying, but Mei, who I mean technically by all definitions went missing, but it was just never reported. And okay, fine. You know how we said there was no human trafficking involved? Maybe there was a little. We don't know. We're gonna look into it, okay? So it just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth because in the beginning, the county was like, oh my God, absolutely. You guys are there. The county was literally gaslighting the internet. Like, you guys are crazy. There's no human trafficking. What are you talking about? And now that people are getting upset and the anger, the outrage is not dying down, they're like, we will, it's a good point. We're gonna look into it, you know? But still, no answers. If this is Mei, and she did go missing because her neighbor took her out of the city or the village, who took her? Why didn't the neighbor report her missing? Why didn't she call the police? What happened from that day that she went missing to all the way to today? Because that's decades. And how come Mr. D is not arrested? Like, what has this woman gone through? Let the woman speak. It was so frustrating that a few volunteers drove all the way to the village, tried to break into the hospital that Mei, the chained woman, was in, that was heavily guarded, which, by the way, and they snuck in, tried to talk to Mei, but they were kicked out, and those volunteers went missing for a week. They lost contact with their friends, their family, they stopped posting online, wouldn't talk to anyone, they went dark for a week.
They were arrested, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, of course, this incident blew up even more. 2 women tried to save a woman, and now these 2 women are in jail with God knows what happening to them. So this incident blows up more. Meanwhile, other netizens are getting riled up. The DNA results were never posted, and even May's sister said that she had DNA taken from her, and the police told her that's her half-sister, but they never provided the actual physical results. And everyone that knew May said that when she was younger, it just doesn't make sense. Like, this doesn't feel like it's May. So what if the county is just lying all over again? The public was dead set that this was Li Ying, and all the trust in the local officials was out the window and gone, and nobody was trusting them ever again. And then scandal after scandal and discrepancies, and then people started doing the math. They're like, wait, if this is May, and they said that she went missing in this year and she was this old, if you do the math with all her children, that means that she had her first kid in her 20s, and then she had back-to-back kids in her 40s? That doesn't even make sense. People are like, I don't even understand. And she wasn't even going to the hospital for the kids, for 7 of her kids. So she's in her 40s having like a peak in fertility out of nowhere and then giving birth in the shed? What's going on? So from 42 years old to about 50 years old, she gave birth to 7 kids. Like, none of this is making sense. Are we sure that this is May? Like, people were just getting more and more confused. And then internationally, it became a whole thing. So this got so much attention nationally, and it also happened to coincide with the Beijing Winter Olympics. A lot of the big publications internationally, I believe the New York Times was one of them, and they had posted articles that were titled, and I quote, "Who is the real China, Eileen Gu or the chained woman?" And a quote started circulating. When no one is paying attention to the chained woman, people could see her on the internet. But when the whole world is paying attention to her, we can no longer see her. A lot of allegations were that China was censoring and suppressing the story, especially after it went a little bit more international. With enough outrage, they kind of had to do something. Even though they were suppressing the story as much as they think they could have, I think, okay, personally, allegedly, they were suppressing the story, people were still outraged. They were not getting over it. So the province came out. So this is basically like it going from a county investigation to like a state investigation. The province came out and was like, hey, we're gonna investigate. Don't worry, we got this, trust us. The public was a bit more optimistic that there would be results. And a week later, results came out. A 6,000-word detailed report on their investigation. So finally, the truth had come. The chained woman was May from Yunnan. The DNA showed that the woman was May and not Li Ying, and as for the picture that showed that Li Ying and the chained woman were similar in appearance, apparently it was edited before it was posted. So the viral picture that was circulating with the proportion lines and everything, that was kind of altered a bit. So it's a bit misleading. So what the hell happened to May? Her parents had gotten divorced. May moved to a new city with just her mom. And at the age of 17, everyone who knew her said that, she was a very physically and mentally well young girl. She gets married at 17. That marriage lasted about 2 years. And when she divorces and joins her mom again, everyone was shocked. They're like, this is not the May that we knew. She has slurred speech. She has very different behavioral discrepancies. I mean, they believe that she was suffering from, if not one or many mental illnesses. So a year later, a neighbor named Sang took her to a neighboring village by request of May's mom. May is like, listen, May needs a husband. She's getting old. She's not a good catch. Take her to like one of the villages and see if someone will marry her, please. And the neighbor, Sang, was not just a neighbor, they were a human trafficker.
Wow.
They had already done a prison stint for child trafficking, and that is how 21-year-old May became a trafficking victim. Sang sold May to a man in a local village for $620. And after about 4 months, May ran away, and somehow she wandered around 400 miles away from where the first purchase happened. And a couple took her in. This is a restaurant owner. And for a month, she was okay. She was eating, she was being housed. She was helping out around the restaurant. And then they decided to sell her to migrant workers at a nearby construction site. Basically, she was sold again to construction workers. And these construction workers were like, let's take her to our hometown, which is the village that Mr. D lived in. And they were like, we don't really want her. We don't really need her. So let's sell her to someone in the village. They sold her to Mr. D's dad when he was still alive. So May had been sold like an animal 3 times. And finally, she was sold to Mr. D as the wife. Now, on the registration forms, she was forced to use a fake name so that nobody knew who she was because, it's illegal to buy a wife. And from there, it just seemed like her life It was pretty horrible. It wasn't as horrible as being chained up because it seems like she gave birth to her son in a hospital. And at that hospital, because of China's one-child policy, they put an IUD into her body, which means she can't get pregnant again. It's like those little copper things that they stick in your cervix. And about 10 years later, the IUD was ineffective. So we don't know when she started getting chained up. It could have been like a year after she gave birth to her son, 6 months. It could have been like 5 years. But we know that she was chained for a while. The IUD became ineffective and she was having this surge of reproductive hormones and she was getting assaulted. And she gave birth 7 more times from the time that she was 34 years old to the time that she was 43 years old. The longest gap between kids was 14 months, which is insane. Before she was chained up, and if she had not been found by a TikToker, she had no idea how many more years or how much longer she would even survive being chained up. Once the report was released, the authorities confirmed that they did arrest Mr. D for abuse, as well as several other county leaders who did the investigation. They carried it out the way they did, as well as people who were willing to turn a blind eye on marriage registrations. Like these people that worked in the marriage registration office, they knew what was going on. They didn't ask her for her ID because they knew that she was a purchased woman. This case drew a lot of attention to the fact that in these villages, just all around the world, not just in China, it is still not uncommon to buy wives, to buy human beings. And just in this province, since 1986, close to 50,000 women have been sold and bought by traffickers. And that's just the ones we know of. Even villagers who knew said that they weren't surprised. This isn't something new or wild. They said in villages, women are sold like pigs and dogs because they saved the village. Because what kind of woman wants to live in a village and have a bunch of kids so that they can work in the fields? No woman. But Mr. D will probably get off light because in the criminal law of China, it reads that the crime of buying abducted women and children shall be sentenced to a fixed term imprisonment of not more than 3 years.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Sometimes it's jail, sometimes it's public service. So,
What?
yeah, in this like province area. So
I mean, this is basically kidnapping
yeah.
and assault, sexual essay.
It's kind of a loophole from what I read, and tell me if my research is incorrect on this one because it was getting really complex because it's like the code of law and it's constantly changing, and also translation. I did have professional translators help me on this one, but kidnapping a woman, you get a higher sentence. But for some reason, when you buy a kidnapped woman, like it's like a different sentence. So when you're the kidnapper, you get a different sentence. I feel
What's
like
worse?
that's what
right?
I'm saying, but it's like it's kind of a weird, like a really weird thing. I don't know why. A lot of people in China are saying this is the case that really showed the true colors, that a woman is still considered less than a panda, and even 2 parrots. And to make things worse, some netizens even took to the internet to blame the chained woman. They said, now that the case is clear, did the public get what they want? Just because of your so-called morality and wokeness, the family is torn apart, the children don't have a mother, and the man doesn't have a wife, and the children don't have a father. And you know what? The most pitiful person is the chained girl. If one of her 8 kids had been successful, she would have been well taken care of for the rest of her life. But that hope, it's all gone now. Insinuating that since she's been freed, she has no hope that one of her kids will succeed and support her later on.
I can't believe this.
Yeah, so if that's true, okay, let's just chain everyone back up. Another person wrote, besides, no matter how righteous the government is, family ties are not as important anymore these days. There's already no love from the mother, and now the father's gone. What will the children feel? Probably not good. To that, someone responded, finally, someone with brain cells. They wrote, the young children are innocent, but the kidnapped mother is more innocent. To sympathize with her rapist is to stab the chained mother. And that is the story of the TikToker who chained a woman up and almost got away with it.
Wow, that is so dark.
I don't even know how to feel about this case or how to dissect this case because there's so many different weird levels to this. And I think definitely just the fact that it was happening during the Beijing Winter Olympics, it just adds such a even more depressing, anytime when there's a crime happening, it feels like there's 10 worlds going on. How can all these things happen in the same world? Just doesn't make sense. I'm gonna play you the video of this woman's last words, and I don't even speak Chinese, but for some reason, it just like got to me. My fiance showed me this. I had no idea what crime she committed. I had no idea why she was about to die, but just watch.
判处被告人郭爽死刑，听清了没有？对判决结果有什么意见没有？没有。临刑前，你有什么遗言和进谏需要我们向你的亲属代为转达的？希望我爸妈好好的。其他有没有了？押赴刑场，交付执行。
你刚才问什么？问王子健了吗？为什么第一反应要问他的结果？不知道。就像你昨天说的，希望他能留下来。你如愿了，他留下来了。
真的。
为什么会那么高兴？他判了缓刑。有什么跟爸妈说的？
妈妈，对不起。希望你们为了自己好好活着。
So this clip goes viral, and just to give you some context, this woman right here is a hospital worker that's about to be executed, and she was asked if she had any last words, and she just responds really emotionlessly, like she's no longer even here on the planet, like she's accepted her fate. She just says, I hope my parents are doing well, like I feel remorse for my parents, I feel sorry to them. And that was it. It's like the most standard textbook type of response. But the interviewer who worked for the news station decided to push on, to press on. So she brings up this woman's boyfriend, the one that was about to be executed for murder because they killed somebody together. And the interviewer says, I know I probably shouldn't tell you this, but just, because you're going to die anyway. Your boyfriend is no longer being executed. His sentence was commuted to life in prison. And you just see this woman's face. She starts crying, like tears of joy, of happiness. She's like nodding and crying, and it's oddly emotional and oddly moving. She said, at least one of us is going to live, and I'm not holding him back anymore. 30 minutes later, she was executed. And this huge clip almost became like a morality debate for years to come. Like, is this woman evil? Is she not evil? Did she deserve this? I mean, it seems like she has a soul. She's like so excited that her boyfriend's gonna live. Is her boyfriend evil? Did he manipulate her? Did she manipulate him? So let's answer all those freaking questions because it gets wild. It all started at the hospital. The freaking hospital. So Dr. Feng is like a big name in the hospital. I mean, his name wasn't on the building or anything like that, but he ran the hospital technically. He was the director of the hospital personnel department. He was very well compensated for his position, and he was able to negotiate like a ton of benefits when he took this job. So he's walking around shoulders tall like he owns the goddamn place. I mean, he is an accomplished guy. I will give him that. He grew up in China, graduates college, and he's like, I'm gonna go to the United States. He starts going through the ranks, and he eventually ends up at Columbia University to do research, later goes to Harvard University to study molecular biology. What does that even mean? Then he gets married to an ophthalmologist, right? And then the two of them just have kids. Listen, they're like winning the American dream. And then he gets a call from his old college in China, and they're like, we want you back. We want to give you a prestigious directorial position. Like, we miss you. We heard you've been doing great things in the United States. Come back. So he couldn't say no. His wife is confused, like, what do you mean you can't say no? Our kids want to be here. Our kids are practically American, their whole lives are here. My practice is here. Do you not care that I'm a fucking ophthalmologist? Like, hello? Like, what do you mean you're not going to say no? And he ends up going. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm taking the kids. I'm sure you'll find your way back to China too because you just need us so much. And the wife was like, absolutely not. Needless to say, it resulted in a pretty messy divorce, obviously. So Dr. Feng goes back to China, gets into his little workplace, and he loves it. I mean, immediately, everybody respects him. They all praise him with these powerful words like, Dr. Feng, you were born to be a leader. I don't know. Nowadays, after all those cult stories, I'm like, anytime I hear someone was born to be a leader, I'm like, you gotta run the other way. You gotta go as far away from that person as possible because I don't think that's a good thing anymore. They're like, Dr. Fang, you are someone I would blindly follow. You're just so smart. I mean, he was intelligent. He was, competent. He was respectable. He was a natural leader, so they say. It was normal to see nurses and other doctors just excitedly greeting Dr. Fang in the hallways. But there was always like this one employee that was a bit more lively, a bit more cheerful than the rest. She looked like she freaking loved her job, which is rare. And well, being head of the personnel department, he was like, I like that. I like that energy. I wish everybody had that energy. That's how I pump up the vibes in this hospital. So when his 40th birthday came around, Dr. Fang's like, I'm gonna go out with all my coworkers and we're gonna get drunk. He's like, hey, that random girl that always greeted me so excitedly, looked so happy to be at work, what's her name? Let's freaking invite her to the party. So her name was
Guo Shuang.
Guo Shuang. I'm gonna call her SG because, listen, I'm gonna trigger this guy with my pronunciations the whole time. So SG was 22 years old. She's just trying the best that she could. I mean, who isn't at 22? Like, who's just living the best life? I mean, that's what she was doing. It's 2005. She graduates from college. She studied medicine, but she didn't go to med school. She studied nursing, but she didn't go to nursing school. So she was kind of stuck in the middle. Like, I can't go be a nurse. I can't really have these titled jobs, but I want to work in the hospital. So she gets an opening at this very hospital, and her parents are retired at this point. She's feeling the pressure. She's like, I gotta provide for them. So they're getting old. She's down to take anything at this point. She sees this position, and it's kind of like a position where you're just administration, but not even really. You're an assistant to administration. You're doing some paperwork here and there, but you're fetching coffees. You're cleaning up messes, literal messes. It wasn't prestigious. It wasn't in the field that she wanted, but at least it was in a hospital. So she was a part-time worker, a temporary worker, which meant the pay was even less. She had no benefits, no control over her schedule. She didn't even know if she was going to even work 20 hours that week. She could have just been cut from the schedule. But SG was the type that felt like, if I work hard, they're going to make me full-time. So she puts up with all the horrible treatment, all the being the end of the group, having to fetch people's coffees, And every single day she saw any superiors in the hallways, she would just be so excited. Like, hello, Dr. Fang, like, happy to be at work. So when Dr. Fang invites her to his 40th birthday party, I mean, she's freaking over the moon. This meant her hard work is finally paying off. She's going to go make this amazing impression on her superiors, and hopefully she would get that full-time position, right? She didn't know that Dr. Fang wasn't thinking about a full-time position, but rather a position for being his girlfriend. So during his birthday party, he just kept pushing more and more drinks on SJ. And I feel like it's similar to Korean culture. SJ found it really hard to turn down his superior's drinks when he kept insisting that she take another shot and another shot. And she's with her work bosses. They're all doctors. She felt safe. I mean, think about it. Even if she's drunk and she tripped and fell, they knew what to do, right? They could clean her up. If she had alcohol poisoning, they knew what to do. I mean, can you think of a place that you would feel more safe drinking than in a room full of doctors? But SG was still worried when she felt her vision started to blur, and she's like walking and tripping over the stools and over the table ledges. She's like, okay, keep calm. Like, it's okay. I gotta put a good impression. I gotta walk straight. But why did she feel so drowsy? So Dr. Fang couldn't take it anymore. He laughs and he gets up and he's like, all right, party's over, I guess. You guys have fun on me. I'm going to take the rookie SG home. Guess she's not used to the way that we party as doctors, am I right? So everyone's waving. They're not thinking anything of it. I mean, this is a nice guy. Yeah, have fun. Like, SG's in good hands. SG thought so too. She just remembered being in his car, and then the next thing she remembered was waking up in his bed. And immediately she was crying. Immediately. There was no like, oh my God, what happened? She knew what happened. Come on. So instead of driving SG home, Dr. Fang thought, why not bring her to my house? She's already losing consciousness. It'll be so easy to rape her. And in the morning, I can just tell her that she came on to me. Like, he knew what he was doing was bad, but whatever. That's how the world worked. That's what he's thinking to himself. Besides, SG would probably be so embarrassed that she slept with her boss that she would scurry out of his apartment. He had no idea that SG would wake up bawling her eyes out. That was not according to the plan. I mean, 23-year-old SG is laying in that bed. Her life just feels like it's been shattered to glass. Her hope in the world was gone. Not only is she traumatized, but this is like the worst way to be traumatized. She's thinking, if I can't even trust a respectable man, my boss, who on this planet can I trust? I mean, she just had this image of Dr. Fang as a mentor, a leader, someone who looked out for his subordinates, but then that just shattered like glass. It's like everyone in the world is so full of deception and nobody is good and you can't trust any. She was having like a quarter life crisis. She was genuinely having a moment of like, what the fuck? She thought rapists were people that looked really gross and they come up to you and they harass you and catcall you and they like spike your drink. She never thought it would be her respectable boss who studied at Columbia and Harvard and everybody respected him. Dr. Fang was shocked too. Not at himself for being a disgusting, deplorable human being, but I guess he really didn't think that SG would have such a strong reaction to the assault. He thought that she would just blame herself and push it under the rug, which honestly is so sick when you think about it. So to try and diffuse the situation, Dr. Fang offers SG a compromise. He's like, she's too emotional. She is unpredictable. I don't know if she's going to go tell the cops. I don't know if she's going to go tell my bosses. So to keep her quiet, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. You know, violence against women is never okay. I take it very seriously. But how about I help you out? I can try to make sure that you're offered full-time the minute a position opens up. SG left Dr. Fang's apartment and she didn't agree. She didn't say anything. She just like literally left in tears. But when she gets home, you know, she's thinking about it. And this is the part that people really come at SG for. They say she must have not hated the assault if she went back for more. But SG, from that point, decided to sleep with Dr. Fang now. Psychologists say that there's like a ton of reasons that victims will actually choose to sleep with their assaulters after their trauma. One of the main ones being, if I choose it this time, then it feels like the last time it happened, the actual assault, was an assault, right? Like, it makes me feel like I'm regaining the power. And if I chose it this time, that means I didn't actually experience this intense, unconsensual thing last time, right? It's not that bad. It's like a way for your brain to protect yourself. Things like assault are so nuanced, I feel like we're just touching the surface. We have stories where victims fight the whole way through and immediately go to the police after. But in most cases, I think it's because so many people know their assaulter or their lives are connected with the rapist that it just becomes so nuanced and complicated. If it's a boss that could jeopardize your career, if it's a schoolmate that could ruin your reputation and make you a social outcast, if it's a family member that can uproot the entire family ecosystem, I mean, it's too complex, right? So people seem to do things that almost seem unfathomable to other people, but all I'm saying is nobody really knows what they would do in that situation unless they've been in that situation. So SG starts an intimate relationship with Dr. Fang. And I think there was another reason for it too, other than her trying to convince herself that she had the power here. Psychologists agree that this is very normal for victims who are assaulted by people who have power over them. So Dr. Fang had offered SG a full-time position at work. And at first she was disgusted and traumatized. But maybe when she got home, she reasoned with herself, like, listen, this terrible, horrible thing has happened to you, but it's in the past. Like, you can't even change it. What can you do? There's no way to go back and rewrite history. You can't go to the cops. They're not going to believe you. You can't go to your boss. He's your boss. You know, it's like his word against yours. This is rape culture. So yeah, you've been assaulted, humiliated, and now you're unemployed if you do something. Or maybe you get something out of it. Maybe you can win something, right? Take advantage of the situation. If you sleep with him, maybe he will feel forced to give you a full-time position.
Yeah, it's like your brain trying to survive, basically.
Yeah, and like try to like reason, okay, well, if I get something out of it, then it's fine. But from the outside, what a lot of people saw was, oh, this is a girl who's like sleeping her way to the top, and she's mad that people found out about it or that it stopped working. But before then, SG was promoted to a full-time position. It's so frustrating. So people were really coming at her for the fact that she did get promoted to a full-time position. Now, Dr. Fang being the complete asshole that he is, I don't even know what to say. Like, he's a freaking dickwad, okay? He didn't even give her the full benefits. He was like, oh, since you're transferring like to part-time to full-time, I'm just gonna like give you full-time. But usually all the full-time people that were hired, they got housing benefits, they got an allotment for housing, they got all of these things. They got amazing different health cares. She got nothing. She just got a full-time position. And she was just grateful to have 40 hours a week where she was guaranteed to get paid as long as she did her job well. So now, with this full-time status, SG is hoping that she can transfer to a different hospital soon, one that's connected to this one. She wanted to see what Dr. Fang could do about it. This would be the least that he could do after traumatizing her for the rest of her life, right? She just wanted a full-time job and to transfer so that she didn't have to be around him anymore. But Dr. Fang was getting annoyed. She was asking for too much, and essentially, he slammed the door shut in her face. So SG tries to move on. She doesn't have to see him anymore because he's upset with her for demanding too much. You know, they would just nod at each other awkwardly in the hallways, and that was about it. So all the while this is happening, he just blew it out. So all the while this is happening, she goes out with her cousin one night to blow out some steam, and they run into Zizhan Wang Zizhang, and we're gonna call him Z. So they know each other's cousins. Anyway, he's like a nice guy. He's freaking 18 years old, and SG at this point is 25 or something, or 23. So again, a little bit, he's very young. That's all I have to say. But it's fine. He's of age. They start dating, and SG just felt like Z was mature. He was someone that liked to take care of others and take care of her, and he was listening to her. She felt secure enough that a month after dating, she just told him everything. This is what happened at work. This is what Dr. Fang did to me. And then 2 weeks later, she brings him a pregnancy test. It was positive. She knew it wasn't Z's. The only person that it could be possibly was Dr. Fang's. She goes to Dr. Fang and she tells him, and without even a moment's thought about it, about if she wanted it or like how terminating a pregnancy can be so traumatic for patients, nothing. She had no power over her body. He dragged her to the hospital and forced her to get an abortion right then and there. And this was when all hell broke loose. SG was a freaking mess. Like, I think all of that trauma was behind this like powerful wall, and she was trying to hold on tight. And then eventually this is the straw that broke the camel's back. So she's telling Z about everything that's going on, and like he's listening intently. You could see his ears are turning red. Like he's angry. I mean, who wouldn't be? Like, what kind of boyfriend wouldn't be? He felt genuine, pure hatred for the first time in his life. That's how he describes it. Like, genuine hatred. And that is how the whole tragic story began. Both of them say that it was they that brought up the whole idea of killing Dr. Fang. SG said, it was me. I hated Dr. Fang. I wanted to get, revenge. I wanted to ruin him, or at least make sure that he could never assault someone again. If you know what I mean, I wanted to castrate him. Does that make sense? I told Z what I thought about it, and he asked if this was the only way that I could move on and to heal and to be a whole person again. And I said, yeah, that's the only way. And I want you to help me. She claims that Z thought about it for a while, and finally he agreed, and they started planning. Meanwhile, Z said, we both felt like Dr. Fang needed to die in order to let this darkness get out of SG's mind. I mean, she needed this. She wanted to kill him, so together we started planning. So even now it feels like Z is kind of covering for her. Now, I mean, regardless of who started the planning, it was in motion and there was no stopping it. 23-year-old SG and 18-year-old Z went out together to buy a large hammer and some surgical blades. They genuinely wanted to castrate this guy. They didn't want to kill him. They just wanted to take his little thing off so that he could never hurt another woman again. September 30th, 2006, at 4 p.m. after work, SG tells Dr. Fang that she needs to show him something, and it's very important that she had to drive him there and show him it. I don't think that Dr. Fang wanted to go, but I think that he was curious because what if he didn't go? She would go to the police. What if she was unstable? What if she was showing him a shrine? What if she was showing him, evidence that she had of the assault? So he hopped into her car, and he's like, who's the guy in the back? Oh, don't worry about him. That's my little brother. Okay, that's weird. And the three silently head off in the car that SG is driving with Dr. Fang in the passenger seat and Z in the back just sitting quietly. He's not even talking. But then, slowly, as they're getting out of the city and you see less buildings, less people walking around, less cars on the road, and you see wooded areas and fields and nobody for miles, Dr. Fang starts to get nervous. Where are we going? And Z said he talked first. He said, Dr. Fang, I know what you did, and we want to make something clear to you. We're giving you a chance right now that you're going to make SG a formal employee with full benefits within 3 business days and let her transfer to another hospital with housing accommodations and everything. And if you do that within the next 3 business days, we're not going to hurt you. So yeah, consider this a threat. I can't do that. Even if I genuinely wanted to, I don't have the authority to do something like that. Okay, then I guess it's too late. And in the backseat, Z takes out the surgical blade and slices Dr. Feng's neck from behind. And Dr. Feng puts his hand to cover his neck. It's now literally splurting with blood. They said that the blood was getting on the windshield all over the dash. I don't know what he cut, but it was a vein. And Z used this opportunity to grab his wrist, Dr. Feng's wrist, and slash it. And Dr. Feng starts screaming, oh my God, you slashed my aorta. I need to stop the bleeding quick. And he successfully is like reaching for everything. He's like trying to hold onto his wrist and his neck. He opens the door, and in this chaos, he jumps out of the car into the field nearby. So Dr. Feng is literally squirting blood, just running through this field now. He tries to get a few cars to stop and help him, but nobody did. They're like, this feels like straight out of a horror movie. Z runs out of the car, chases him down, and uses the hammer to beat up Dr. Feng's head, like literally bashing his head in. And when he was confident that Dr. Feng was not going to be able to get up and get help or survive any of this, he walked back to SG's car, where she was waiting, and they just left. They just drove off with Dr. Feng in the field to die. They said that they drove in silence, and the smell of the blood was making both of them so nauseous. It was like that rusty smell, almost metallic. They drove to an abandoned roadside, lit the bloody car, literally the bloody car, on fire, and just walked off. They had no plans, no thoughts, just each other. And homicidal vibes, honestly. They walked back to the city. They were arrested within a few days. I mean, a lot of the hospital staff knew that SG and Dr. Feng were having an affair, so it was pretty easy to consider them suspects and connect the dots. Neither of them tried to hide anything. They just immediately confessed. And on August 17th, 2007, both of them were sentenced to death. So it seems like the story is over, right? I mean, kind of. But the internet picked up this case and ran with it. I mean, there was kind of this clear divide in the middle. Half of the people were saying things like, evidence? What evidence? I didn't see anything. All I see is one less rapist gone in this world. Who's crying about that? I'm not crying, are you? Killing for love after someone raped your partner is hardly a crime to be executed for. They said they should execute rapists with this level of passion. Some people said, and these are all quotes and translated, the one who should die is dead. It's the rapist. Why should we lose more people in this world? If he hadn't raped her, she wouldn't have lost her mind and killed him. I don't see the problem here. Listen, the killers were too young, too traumatized to know better. But guess who wasn't too young and too traumatized? The doctor who raped her. Some people were kind of in the middle, like, she did commit a crime. They do need to get punished. They do need to get consequences. But considering the fact that she was raped by this man, I don't think the death penalty, it's a bit too harsh. And then you had the other side of people who were very much victim blaming, seeing things like, well, she kept sleeping with him, then is she truly traumatized for being raped? Maybe she wasn't even raped. Maybe she was just upset that people found out that she was sleeping for a full-time position. I think that she did this for greed. She just wanted to get promoted without putting in the work, and then when he stopped promoting her and sending her everywhere she wanted, she killed him. The young boy was dragged into all of this by the Black Widow. She's pathetic, hateful, manipulative. I mean, she tried to sleep her way to the top and it backfired, so she gets her boyfriend and ruins this guy's life by convincing him to kill. Okay, side note, that comment is so telling because nowhere in that sentence is there any responsibility put on the men in this case, the 18-year-old that physically killed someone, nor the 40-year-old that raped, abused his power, and then threatened a woman. Like, none of that at all. Like, how? So they kept going. I mean, how does a 23-year-old find a teenager attractive? It means that she was looking for someone young and impressionable that she could control. She was looking for someone to help her kill. She was using her sex appeal to get to this 18-year-old. She wasn't satisfied until Dr. Feng was dead. Besides, there's no proof of the rape anyway. I mean, it caused up such a stir that Z's appeal was taken up by the Supreme Court, and in the last minute before both of them were scheduled for their death sentences, Z's death sentence was commuted to life in prison. And that was the moment that we saw earlier. So those crying of tears of joy and saying, at least I don't have to drag him down anymore. I'm so happy he gets to live. She was just so happy at the end.
但是他让我转告你，他说他到现在都真心喜欢你。他还说，其实你不是你欠他的。他说，其实他在这个过程当中，他完全可以自己来选择去做还是不去做，但那是他自己的选择。说不怪你，只怪他太无知，只怪你们两个对法律太无知了。
如果可以的话，他如果愿意的话，请他替我照顾我爸爸。
I mean, to me, when I saw that, I've just personally never saw someone's last words, you know, right before an execution.
Yes, I've never seen a state criminal execution's last words be that emotionally charged. Usually you have the serial killers who are sick and twisted till the end that are like, I ain't got nothing to say, but I love my mom. Or you have the ones that are like, I feel bad for what I did. I found God, love Jesus, bye.
And the fact that her, just her emotional switch went from cold, no emotion to all of a sudden overflowing of emotion. Like a lot of people, I think they were also saying like the love they have, is that, is it because she really, really loves him? Some people say that the feeling is that maybe she did convince him to kill. So now she feels like at least I don't have to. Does that make sense? Like I'm the only one that have to, you know,
bear the death penalty
for this.
It's just so sad. I mean, okay, do I think that what they did was wrong and twisted? Yeah, I do. Would it have been better if they castrated Dr. Fang? Probably, yeah, because he's dead now and he has kids and it's just all around, don't kill people. But I think it's also telling that they're so young and they truly felt like they had no other way. Like the fact that she was traumatized and raped and then they feel like they have no other way and they're backed into a corner and the only way to escape this trauma is to kill him, that says a lot about society and the justice system. Because if she had an outlet to just punish him, he gets fired from his job, he is no longer her boss, she gets some sort of support, like I think she would have been fine.
Yeah, I saw some comment also said that if this case happened today, like 2022, she probably wouldn't have to been
the death penalty.
Yeah,
she probably would have gotten life in prison.
Probably, but it's probably not gonna get, you know, executed. So,
and that is the story of what happened to just the most intense last words I have ever heard. What do you guys think of it? Do you feel like she has some sort of remorse in her? Do you feel like she has a soul? I mean, she was so emotional about her boyfriend not being executed. Do you think it was real love? Do you think it was a trauma bond? Do you think she manipulated him and then felt remorse afterwards? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.